So a lot of folks new, which is awesome to see. And again, lots of familiar faces. It's great to see everybody again. It just seems to go by so quickly when we were together last time in July. Who we are, this is for anybody who is interested in seniors in the Northeast Florida area. We meet every other month. Our next meeting is November. You might have seen that on the beginning slide. You'll see it again at the end. And we'll send a reminder out as we get closer to November just to save that date. It is open to anybody who is interested. There's never a charge to attend, even when we're in person. And I mentioned it's all about networking with colleagues, making new contacts. And we pick a program that we think will be valuable for everybody to gain information, whether it's for them, their clients, family members, et cetera. And you can see our mission statement there down on the bottom. So today's agenda, organizational announcements. We'll talk more about that. We had a great meeting sponsor today, a networking opportunity. You can see the program and our awesome speakers, and then we will wrap up and we'll be done at 10:30. So if you do have any events coming up, or you are looking for somebody to collaborate with on an initiative or something like that, please feel free to use that chat box to do that along with contact information. So if you say, hey, senior prom is coming up end of November, we're looking for sponsors, or, we've got flyers for you to send out to your clients, the folks at your, residence home or whatever that might be, please feel free just to put that right in the chat box to everyone. And then usually as the facilitators, we don't say to people, pay attention to something else other than what's going on in the main screen here. But absolutely, as you see things coming into that chat box, take a look at that. There may be something that you're interested in and that you want to follow up with that person post meeting. All right, so LinkedIn is a way to connect with each other outside of here. There's several hundred folks in the LinkedIn group. It's Northeast Florida Senior Roundtable. You'll see that again at the end if you want to write that down or jot that down. And it's just a way for you to say, you know what, I met that great person from community hospice. I can't remember. Let me go to the LinkedIn group and see if I can figure out who that person is. And hopefully they're there and you can continue to connect. So right now, we're going to turn it over to Bonnie, who is our meeting sponsor. And every meeting we have, we ask for a meeting sponsor. They get 3 minutes on the clock, and we ask them to share everything about their services that they would like us all to know. In addition, our meeting sponsor provides 2 $25 Amazon gift cards at the end of the meeting, kind of our door prizes, virtual door prizes in this case. And we'll do a kind of a random drawing at the end of the meeting at 10:30, about 10:25, we'll hit that. And then have to be present to win. So if your name is drawn from that, you have an opportunity to have that Amazon gift card being emailed to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie. Bonnie, I'm going to mute myself. If you will do the opposite, and you got the floor.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be with y'all on this blustery Friday morning. It's nice and breezy outside, so I'm hoping the temperature will drop. My name is Bonnie Biedenbaugh. I'm with Cornerstone Caregiving, and we are a private duty home care company here in Jacksonville, Florida. We serve actually 7 counties. The main 5 counties, of course, Duval, Clay, St. John's, Baker, Nassau. And then we're also in, excuse me, Volusia and Putnam. And let's see, I'm going to try to share my screen, and hopefully it's not too clunky. But this is just one of our flyers. The supportive care we provide, really what we've found is it really helps our seniors stay out of the hospital, especially when they're transitioning home from maybe at the hospital or a skilled nursing facility. They still need some extra help and support. And adding that care in addition to the home health that they receive really is important and ends up keeping them healthier and more compliant with their medication regime and exercises, and gets them to their doctor's appointments, and really provides that care to make sure that they are safe right there at home. So we do all those things. We do the exercise reminders, range of motion. We do personal hygiene, bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting. Additionally, we can transport them in either their car or our caregiver's car to a medical appointment to follow up. Go into that appointment with them, sit with them, hear what the doctor's saying, report back to family, and ensure that a good care plan is in place for them as they transition home. Additionally, we have no minimums, so we can go in for just an hour if maybe they just need somebody to come give a bath. So maybe the primary caregiver doesn't feel comfortable doing that or safe doing that, so we can just come in and do a bath for an hour and go on our merry way. So we can also take care of those sweet pets that they have as well. Additionally, I know we're going to be talking about the veterans today. We have a great program called the Patriot Path Program. We partner with this company who does the aid and attendance eligibility and can assist the surviving spouse or the actual veteran with getting approved for that service. There is no charge to the veteran or surviving spouse. And what's really nice is if they review it and feel confident that they will get approved, they will go ahead and say, yes, you may start care. We will honor paying for the care while we're waiting for the official approval. So it's a really nice benefit for our veterans and their surviving spouses. Again, I'm Bonnie. I'm with Cornerstone Caregiving and would love to hear from y'all, see how I can help support those that you care for. Thanks so much.
And Bonnie, thank you so much. And a couple things, Bonnie, if you're willing in the chat box, if you want to put your name and the company name and your contact information. And then also if you're feeling savvy enough, you can actually put that brochure right into the chat box. And minimally, if you want to send it to me after the meeting, just email me back. We will include that when we send out the link to the video for folks. To watch on YouTube, we'll include that attachment. So great information for folks to know. So Bonnie, again, thank you for being the spokesperson for your organization there and being willing to be our sponsor for the meeting. And I know folks are like, okay, there's some great options there, some great services. So we really appreciate it. It's all about knowledge and sharing that knowledge. So thank you. Also, feel free to introduce yourself. If you know, obviously you didn't get a chance to meet everybody here. So feel free to put your name and contact information, your organization, anything that you'd like in that chat box as a way to continue to connecting with the rest of the folks. So we're going to head into our program today, resources and benefits for veterans. And behind the scenes, there's a group, and you'll see more about them at the end of the meeting, that, you know, hey, this is a topic that's really relevant and would be helpful. Who are some great resources for that? So these four folks were willing to give up their time and come and present to Senior Roundtable. And we're really appreciative. I know it takes time out of their schedule, not only just to prepare, but here they are with us today. So we're going to go in this order. All of the presenters will do their own timing and things like that. If you do have questions for anybody presenting, if you'll put that in the chat box, and if we still have time left for their portion, we'll address it pretty quickly right then. And if not, once we're over and all four speakers have had a chance, we'll go back and see if we've missed anything in the chat box that pertains to questions for any of these four speakers. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Haley, you are up first. And again, for all the speakers, if you'll start your timer, just so you know where you're at. And Haley and the rest of the speakers, if you'll please do a self-introduction of who you are. And then looking forward to hearing your information. So I'm going to put myself on mute. Haley, you got it.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Perfect.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. Hi, my name is Haley. I'm with ElderSource. I've been here for about 5.5 years. I started originally on the helpline, and I've worked my way through pretty much every program or every department. So just a little bit about me. Now on to Veteran Directed Care. There are 3 of us currently in the department who are person-centered counselors. There's Phyllis Kennebrew. She is the lead. She is in the Gainesville area. Then there is myself. I am in Gainesville. And then there is Miss Jennifer Martinez, who oversees all of Orlando by herself. We service approximately 97 to 100 veterans, all the way from East Georgia, like Camden County area, all the way down, not quite as far as into Orlando. We service all of our base 7 counties, Baker, Clay, Duval, Nassau, Flagler, St. John's, Volusia, and then, like I said, just a few up in Georgia. All right. So in 2008, the Administration for Community Living partnered with the VA to develop a program for all veterans. So there is no age requirement. if they are nursing home eligible, to be able to receive services in the home. This allows veterans to hire their own employees, so that way they can, they know who their workers are, they feel comfortable. Sometimes it's even their spouse or their children. They feel more comfortable, confident in the care that they will be receiving. Across the nation, there are 70 VA hospitals who place referrals into the program. There's 241 AAAs, like ElderSource, their agency on aging, across the nation, who has this program. And approximately as of yesterday, there was about 3,877 veterans enrolled. That number is constantly changing. People sometimes are no longer eligible within the program. They may decide that nursing home is a better fit, just things like that. And ElderSource, like I said, we service about 100 of those veterans. So we see a lot of people. The qualifications, as I said, there are no age limits. It's for anybody who has served in the military, any branch of the military. They do have to be actively enrolled in the VA health system. So they have to see a primary care physician. They have to be nursing home eligible. And they do not, at this time at least, have to have a service-connected disability. That is big, because there are programs within the VA that do have to have the service-connected disability. Also, there is no income guidelines, which again, some programs do have that. So that's huge. It was designed for veterans to age in place, avoid or delay nursing home placement by providing the veterans to choose their care environment based on their needs, their preferences, and their goals. Services that could be provided under veteran-directed care. The VA allocates a set budget based off of the needs that are determined by the VA. ElderSource has no part of that. The VA determines that on their end, and they give that to ElderSource. They are able to hire caregivers, as I've mentioned before, for strictly in-home care. The veteran has to be in the home. If they were to have to transfer to, say, a rehab or hospital, those services would stop. However, within a time limit, they could resume services as normal. The budget can pay for things like meal prep, nutrition, feeding. If the person needs assistance with bathing, hygiene, grooming, getting dressed, maybe like housekeeping, changing linens, just general things to keep the veteran safe, comfortable, healthy, and age independently with dignity. So how do veterans get a part of this program? That is something that we hear a lot in the field. The best way, and really the only way, is they would have to get a referral from their primary care through the VA. There's sometimes a little bit of pushback. Unfortunately, not every provider knows about the program. Even though it did develop in 2008, there's still a lot of providers that have not heard of the program. So we emphasize to our veterans, it's veteran-directed care that provides a budget for in-home services for the veterans to be able to hire whom they need. I've also placed the direct phone number to North Florida, South Georgia VA Hospital. She has offered that if you have a person who is, again, they have to be already in the VA health system, you can give that number a call and they can kind of go in a little bit more detail or kind of navigate with you. Orlando VA, you can talk with your social worker if you have one. But again, the best way is to just get that consult from the provider in the VA health system. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Haley, is there, if somebody is already in the system and they qualify, et cetera, is there an extensive wait list? I know for some programs, just in general, in this field, there is quite a wait list. So that's an expectation. How does this work?
So it all depends on the veteran. it depends on the need. It depends on, how fast the provider can get everything over to the VA. It's best just to get in contact with the provider. It fluctuates. So I don't really have an exact answer for you on that, unfortunately. But if you have somebody, just get them to the provider so they can get the process started.
Excellent. Any questions for Haley before we let her off the hook? And again, you can always still put them in chat. If we got time at the end of the program today, we'll circle back to those. Any questions before we move forward? Let me pause for a second. And then Haley, if you're comfortable and you're okay with it, if you would like to send me those slides, we can attach it to the post-meeting email that will go out probably sometime end of next week.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then Haley, same thing, if you're willing to put your contact information in there, if people have more questions and want to get in touch with you afterwards, if you're comfortable with that, if you want to put that in the chat box, very appreciated.
Absolutely.
Right. Haley, thank you so much. Again, very appreciated. I'm going to stop the sharing. Yep, round of applause. Please join me. Please join me. Okay. And we are now heading into our next speaker, Joe with United Way. Joe, thank you again for coming today. And again, muting myself. You've got it.
Awesome. I'm looking for the share my screen button. There we go. Found it. Stand by. Execute. All right. Let's see if we can do this. There we go. That looks good. All right. Are you seeing my screen? Awesome. Yes. Well, good morning, and thank you all for being here, especially for the focus on our veteran community and, of course, their family. I'm Joe Snowberger. My first career, I was a sailor in the Navy. I made it to Chief Petty Officer, and then I retired as a Navy commander. Loved the 14 different countries I either lived or visited in, and I have been in every ocean except the Antarctic. So it's good to be stable somewhere for a while. So for the past 20 years, we've been swimming in the military veteran world and helping veterans and military families have the best lives they can. Today, I want to tell you about the United Way's Mission United program. As most of you know, the mission of the United Way of Northeast Florida is to connect people, resources, and ideas to solve our community's toughest challenges. I also have to change slides. There we go. All right. For folks seeking direction to basic services or information, the starting point is the United Way 211 information and referral helpline. Most of you are probably familiar with that. By dialing 211, people of all ages and all walks of life are referred to essential health and human services, like some of your services. Operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're engaged to go do that and support. And the United Way, as you can see by this map, serves Northeast Florida, these counties. So shifting to within that coverage footprint, Northeast Florida is home to the largest population of military veterans and their families in Florida, the third largest such population in the country. While it's considered a Navy region, with the 3 major naval installations here in the region, the other branches all operate here too. There are 3 more Marine Corps commands, 3 Coast Guard commands, even an Air Force base with combat aircraft that fly sovereignty missions out of our area on a daily basis. Approximately 1 in 4, or 25% of our households in the region are military or veteran households. Let me say that again. 1 in 4 of all of us that live in the 9 counties of Northeast Florida, 25% of our households are military or veteran related households. Those numbers are also very conservative and low because we know that the census underrepresented that particular number, and we've had a massive influx during the pandemic move down to Florida. So we have a large population, and United Way took focus on that. And as a result, Mission United exists, which I'll share with you a little bit more about. There's 3 basic categories of veterans out there. It's like the normal types of society, but it's worth talking about. There are veterans and military members who have transitioned that are struggling and need a hand up. There's those of us that are living like most of us. We have transitioned well, we make a living, we get along. We'd all love to get a winning lottery number and have better, but we're making it. And then there's those who are really thriving and they're able to give back and participate and support organizations like this. If you are struggling or you are looking for services, either as a transitioning military or a senior who's out there, this is what the world looks for you. Where do I find your service? Where do we go to get the connections? How do I make that happen? Whether it was a 4-year military career or a 30-year career, military transition can be daunting, and it isn't for a lack of services. There are hundreds and hundreds of good people, good services and orgs out there to serve military veterans and their family, to help them navigate the benefits they've earned. But it also falls in the laps of the caregiver or the family member to find these services for that senior veteran, and they're just not sure where to go. And then imagine trying to figure out this network if you're under stress or there's an emergency situation, and to deal with that condition. So in today's culture, seniors who may not have any military experience may end up being the caregiver for their veteran spouse or their veteran children, or even their veteran grandchildren, as they struggle to navigate that systems of care. And certainly service providers like you may have a veteran client who has needs that you can't fulfill. It's not part of what you do, but they need help in addressing some of the barriers that they are experiencing. That's where we come in. Mission United's Veteran Care Coordination through 211 is an initiative specifically developed to assist military service members, veterans, and their families in addressing barriers to their overall betterment. First and foremost, by dialing 211, identifying as a veteran household, one can be connected with a Mission United Care Coordinator who is also a veteran. That veteran peer-to-peer connection makes a difference. Forming that veteran peer rapport of trust is a great start to establishing a rapport, and then we get started on addressing barriers. There is no matter what their discharge status is, and we're so much more than a list of website links. The Veteran Care Coordinator seeks to connect the veteran or military family member with the services and resources that specifically address the needs that they have and seek the outcomes they're seeking. It could be one or it could be numerous ones, and we'll continue to assist them until they reach their outcomes. So it starts with the picture on your left, and by dialing 211 and connecting with a military or veteran care coordinator with the concierge service, the picture looks like on the right. We also work directly with veteran networks across the 9 counties and national resources that are established for veterans. The veteran care coordinator will work with the veteran through the warm handoff to the services. We just don't give you a number. We help you connect directly with the person waiting to serve you. We want to give you a warm and direct handoff so you don't go knock on a door, ride a bus, or drive somewhere and get there. And because of your discharge status or what wasn't advertised on their website or what you thought, your income level or whatever, you've already kind of been pre-screened and know that those folks are going to have a good shot at helping you. We work with lots of good folks, like you're going to see from Travis here in a minute, from the city of Jacksonville, who has a great military and veterans affairs department. There's a lot of services out there. One of the other things we do is some are really good and some are not so good. And so we help weed that out for you and send you like a concierge to a service that's going to help meet your needs. So real quick in review, by dialing 211, a well-known entry point like 911 or 411, you're connected to the United Way's referral and helpline. When you identify as a veteran or a military household, you're offered the opportunity to connect with a veteran care coordinator, a veteran peer, a super navigator, a concierge to help you connect with the services that you need. And that network is all of you folks, the community of services and veteran services out there to go do that. And as well, we have a large community advisory council, which is made up of stakeholders and other folks. Some of you may be interested in that as well. And that's where we address gaps and try and solve problems that aren't necessarily being addressed or that we understand have evolved, like the current circumstances that we in. Quick look, here's real faces of people that might be helping you. One's a retired Navy veteran. Another one is an Army veteran, a surviving veteran spouse. So she's really up to speed with some of those issues that widows and whatnot may have to deal with and play with, especially when that happens. And they're desperately seeking where that DD 214 is and all those paperworks. This is what we do. Okay. Military veterans are typically will wait until the very end, until they are absolute desperate to ask for any help. And when they do, they've got a peer support coordinator who's sitting there ready to connect them to the agency that or the service or the individual that can help them best. So we swim through the pool of all available resources and we digest triage what they need, and we try and connect them to where they are at. And I'll leave this up for another second. When they do connect with Mission United, we just spend a lot of time. Our goal is to help our shipmates and battle buddies that have served before us or their family members, help them address the barriers to their overall betterment. You might be providing one source to them, and we can help provide all the other sources or connect them to those resources. Speaking of seniors, here's one of the recently, this widow lost her husband. He had been retired a long time, and quite common, unfortunately, is she really wasn't sure where the DD 214 was, the details about his service. And that's what I would implore all of you to go do, is get that piece of paper together and get that thing squared away. Now, we hooked her up with a City of Jacksonville veteran service officer who is an expert in those kind of things and veteran service benefits. She was about to pay somebody in a for-profit world a lot of money to help her go do the very same thing that her husband's service had earned her freely. And she connected with the City of Jacksonville's MAVD office and is found out the services she was qualified for. And talking to her about a month ago, all is well, and she is doing terrific. So I wanted to blow through that pretty quickly to allow times for questions. Just a reminder, dial 211 to your veteran or for your veteran that you're serving. Reach out to us, happy to give you our direct line. So if you wanted to connect with us or our veteran care coordinator on behalf of a client you're working with, I'm happy to absolutely do that. That's the generic email shown, Mission United at UnitedWayNortheastFlorida.org. Where we help connect the largest population of military family and veterans to your services or the appropriate service that they need. I don't deliver any direct services. I act as a concierge, and my team works with those veterans to find you. So attending these kind of events, and if you're not engaged with my veteran care coordinators, or we haven't sat down with you and exchanged information, made sure, maybe you're on the 211 database. Half of our resources aren't because they don't fit on that database, but we'd like to make sure we know who you are so that we can connect appropriate military veterans and service members to you as it be appropriate. Anything else, I'm open for questions.
And first of all, Joe, amazing resources, and love the two stories. I mean, you could not have explained this any better as far as all the different services that you help people with, et cetera. Just amazing. So if anybody here has questions, we got another 3 minutes or so for Joe's time. If anybody has a question, just unmute yourself. I'm looking at the videos. They can see who it is. I know sometimes it's awkward because you don't want to talk over somebody else talking. So questions for Joe before we let him off the hook. Carolyn, please.
Joe, can you remind us again which counties in Northeast Florida this covers?
Absolutely. There's a slide for that. While I am thinking about that, it starts at the border, Nassau, come on down to Duval, Clay. Here we go. Hopefully I got a slide for this somewhere. I'm not sharing.
It's at the beginning, but I missed all the counties. And do they have something similar to this in other parts of the country?
They do. So 7 years ago in Broward County, a Vietnam veteran, you know what kind of experience he had coming home, was now a very successful lawyer in Broward County. Daughter came home from Afghanistan. She had a catastrophic soldier. The Army had discharged her to the VA. She couldn't use her left arm. She had a bad knee, and she had a touch of the fever. After 2 years, he had failed to be able to connect her to the services that they needed because Fort Lauderdale is just not a big veteran military hub. So he went to the United Way and said, hey, I've supported you for years. I love what you do. But in 2 years, I found out there's a lot of veterans coming home from the wars overseas and the conflicts going on, and they don't know where to go and they're struggling. And so the United Way took this on in Broward. They formed the Mission United. They worked with all the caregivers because the United Way's not doing it. They're just convening all the characters out there. There's now 9 of them across the state of Florida, 26 across the nation, as United Ways evaluate their community and if Mission United is appropriate for them. There's other things like Mission United out there. We're not the only game in town. And we spent 2 years talking to our community. We engaged in 30 town halls. We interviewed over 2,700 military and veteran families. I made 250 presentations in 6 months to all the different service providers. And then we had a 2-day convening session with about 45, and they all said, we agree, there's plenty of resources. We just don't know how to connect them to it. And we think United Way is a good organization that can be the backbone of connecting those resources.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Joe, a question that came up, and if you want to defer it, if you think that there's a better resource coming up here still, but somebody had a family member that was not in wartime and didn't qualify for some of the benefits. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I'm a veteran, and I'm a reluctant veteran. I didn't sign up for the VA until a year ago, and I've been retired some 20 years. So a veteran is anybody who served a day in the service. Okay. And I don't care about your discharge status. A lot of agencies do. I don't care about your discharge status. If you wore the uniform of our nation and you wore those colors and you served a day, okay, you're eligible for, we will help connect you to those services. And we know about a lot of services that will support other than honorable discharges. And then if you have badges or combat badges where you served in certain areas, there's so many specialized orgs out there that will just support those folks and support everybody. So if you got a question at all, don't hesitate to ask. Anybody who served is considered a veteran, and we're going to help connect you.
Joe, that's just wonderful, because I know there's somebody in the meeting today that's exactly their situation with their veteran, is that they've asked for help multiple times, but because of wartime, they did not get a lot of the different things that they thought they were going to get help with. So they're listening to this. And again, anybody that sees the recording in the future will also get to know that these services are available for a variety of different situations that maybe they thought weren't. So
yeah, we'll sit down with them and we'll digest what their issues are, and we'll see what we can go do and carve out. We'd love to work with the known community services out there, and then go constantly dig up new ones and see if we can't connect. We're driven by what's laid in our lap and what that veteran needs, so that we can go find a solution to address their barrier.
Excellent. And then Carolyn, please. Oh, I think you're,
Yes.
there you go.
Okay, Joe, it's not just veterans, but isn't it also family members of the surviving spouse or the spouse and home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Veteran seems to be the common vernacular that everybody will use. If you're a military or a veteran or their family member, okay, reach out to us and let's figure out what's going on. Most of the time, a lot of times, especially with elder veterans, we're really talking to a family member is the point of contact and liaison for them. So absolutely.
Excellent. Joe, thank you. And if you're willing, in the chat box again, what's that first step people should take? And if you're comfortable with people contacting you directly, or if you want to contact, encourage them again to contact 211 and mention that veteran so they get to the right folks. Round of applause, please, for Joe. Awesome information. We're so lucky to have all these resources here, and it's so appreciated. We're going to move now on to Travis with the city of Jacksonville. Travis, you've got the comment.
All right, good morning. My name is Travis Sims. I'm with the city of Jacksonville, Military Affairs and Veterans Department. I've been with the city for 21 years, retired Navy. And basically as a VSO, my primary responsibilities is connecting the veterans to the VA resources, services. Specifically, we're advocates for the veterans when they're filing for disability claims. That's what we primarily do. We, like I said, been doing it for 21 years. We do walk-ins only, so it's no appointment required. We ask that you come in between the hours of 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. We assist the veterans with getting military records. Usually when they come in our office, the first thing they may need is getting their military records. So we can assist them with getting DD-214s, medical records for issues they had on active duty, connecting them to VA healthcare, which is a big part, as well as, and we also provide those services for the dependents too. Sometimes there may be a veteran who's deceased and a survivor spouse coming in and don't have any records, know that her spouse served, but don't have any records. So we can assist them with getting the records as well, and filing for benefits that they may be entitled to. There are some benefits for the dependent children up until the age of 18. It's kind of a case by case. We just need to check the veteran status and the cause of death. We also provide additional services for social services. There are two individuals who assist veterans with getting payments for utilities and rent. Some of our veterans who are going through difficult times may fall behind. So we do offer those services. That service do require an appointment. And I think they would take appointments from 9 up until 3. They have to bring in a copy of the DD-214. For that service, they have to be honorable discharge. There has to be an honorable discharge for the rent assistance and the utilities. Oh, by the way, our office is located in City Hall. We're in Suite 175. And let's see, going back to the social services, bringing your DD-214, honorable discharge, make the appointment. And there are two individuals, that'll be Ed Palmer and Tamika Sims. We also have a program called HVRP, which is Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. And that's a transitional program that assists veterans with getting housing and employment. So we try to cover everything when we're talking veterans, down to disability, connecting those veterans to the resources, assisting veterans with utilities and rent, also assisting them with housing and employment. If there are services that we don't offer, this is the platform to go out and find other agencies that can provide some of those services that we do not provide. So it was a great opportunity to get in here and see and listen to some of those other services. And I know that Joe is coming up next and talk specifically, I guess, on pension benefits. So I won't go in details with that, but I will try to focus on claims. What we require when it comes to disability claims. There are 3 things that the VA look at. One is you have to have a complaint of an issue while on active duty. There has to be some type of treatment, and there has to be a diagnosis. So we make sure the veteran understands that you have to meet those 3 criteria: a complaint, treatment, and a diagnosis. In the absence of that, we can guide veterans on ways to get that disability. If there's no diagnosis, then we can use what we call buddy statements or lay statements, where they can contact a friend that may have served with them that can provide details, information of what they saw, what they witnessed, to help the veteran verify the issue that occurred or the injury or incident that occurred. So we don't want to discourage veterans from coming in the office and filing claims. The hardest part that we found is a lot of veterans don't know we exist. And I've been here 21 years, and I find it hard when veterans come in and say, hey, I didn't know you guys were out there. We do a lot of outreach. We go into assisted living facilities, nursing homes. We go to military installations to try to put the word out to say, hey, we're available, we're here. And we find out that usually from our surviving spouses. A lot of times veterans don't pass that information, how to connect with resources. So we try to get out into the community to make sure that surviving spouses, as well as veterans, knows that there are services available for them. And we give them our contact information and say, hey, just walk in the office. A lot of times you don't know what you're qualified for until you come in the office. So that's part of our responsibility. And that's basically it in a nutshell. Unless someone has specific questions, I won't go too much into details, but I will answer specific questions.
All right, so let me open it up. And again, if you'll just unmute yourself, if you got a question for Travis, either about services, processes, beat Army, please.
Hey, Travis, this is Joe. A good presentation. Would you also talk about some of the collateral services that you support in your office that'll be important for your audience here, such as when ElderSource and or the Three Rivers or whatever the attorney is that will come to your office on certain days of the week.
Well, actually, they used to come in our office. They don't do it anymore. Now for the legal services, they can go to the VA clinic and we can direct our veterans there. That's pretty much on the social service side. If they have legal issues, we refer them to legal services. We did have a collaboration with them before, and for whatever reason, we didn't have space available for some of the confidential information, but they provided a space for them there in the VA clinic, and they're using the VA clinic now for that service.
Other questions, information that you'd like to hear from Travis? Can you stop for just a second?
Is there a phone number?
Yes, our phone number is going to be area code 904-255-5550.
And Travis, a question, what are the typical things that people would call or walk in for with these meetings that they would have for you in the services? What are kind of the things that you see most often coming in?
Typically, primarily, a lot of vets come in wanting to get military records. It could be the DD-214 for employment, or it could be for educational benefits. After they receive the DD-214, we'll sit down with them and talk to them. Hey, did you have any injuries on active duty? Possibility of claims. A lot of veterans, we see a lot of veterans for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. That's one of the, I think, the primary disabilities that we're starting to see with a lot of our Gulf War veterans. So we want to connect them to VA healthcare to get that diagnosis, because usually a lot of times that is not diagnosed on active duty. There are symptoms and signs of it on active duty, but there's no diagnosis. So in order to file that claim, we want to make sure we can connect them to VA healthcare to get a proper diagnosis. And once it's diagnosed, then we can assist them with going further and filing that claim. So that's typically what we see. We see requests for records, and then how do I file my claim? And what's resources available for me after that claim? It may be educational benefits. It may be a VA home loan. It may be burial benefits for some of our elderly veterans. Hey, I want to be buried in the National Cemetery. We can connect them and make sure they get the information, because that's a pre-qualification that you can do. You don't have to wait. The family members don't have to wait until the veteran's deceased. That's a pre-qualification that you can do to make sure that you are eligible. So once the individual passes, they can go ahead and take care of that.
Excellent. Travis, thank you so much. Again, Carolyn, you're unmuted. I don't know if you have a question or you just hadn't muted yourself back. Oh, there you go. We're so fast on that mute button. We don't want to talk. All right. Anything else for Travis? And again, you can always put something in the chat box. And if we have time at the end, if you meant to ask him a question, you didn't get to it. All right. Think that we've got everybody covered. All right. Travis, thank you. Round of applause. And again, Travis, if you haven't done so already, you may be ahead of me already, but if you're willing to put contact information in there, I can see that Haley and Joe / Beat Army did as well.
Okay.
And I say Beat Army, if you'll notice, he's edited his name under his video. Probably a big game coming up, I'm assuming. So we're going to now switch over to Joe. And Joe, if you'll please do your introduction of who you are, and looking forward very much to hearing your information.
Okay, can y'all see my screen? Uh-oh,
I cannot see your screen.
cannot see my screen. Okay, let me back up here then. Okay, bear with me. Okay, okay, I'm gonna talk real quick and hold 1 second.
Okay.
Person in here to help me.
And Joe, while we're waiting, is there a big game this weekend that you're advocating for with your Beat Army?
No, one of the good things about the military veteran world is that there's a constant state of banter between the services, even within services. You know, the Navy's got 5 different branches in the Navy. And if I love you, I'm picking on you. If I don't care about you, you're not hearing a word from us. So if you've got veterans in their office, they're probably hammering on each other every day, and you think they're like at it. No, that's our brand of love and bonding.
And I'm seeing many heads nodding on that. So lots of agreement on there. There you go. Thank you, Joe. All right, it looks like
Yes,
Joe has his slides ready to go.
Okay, so you can see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, anyway, I'm the other Joe, and as I always say, I'm not the plumber, and don't blame me for everything else. I'm not Joe either, okay, and that's Snowberger, okay? But anyway, I'm with the National Association of Veterans and Families, and we're a nonprofit here in Jacksonville. We're out in Green Cove Springs. We're a partner with the Florida Veterans Foundation. So every day we get about 25, 30 referrals from the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, as well as Florida Veteran Foundation, because we handle very difficult cases. As Travis was saying, they do a lot of different things. They really do, and they do a good job. We focus primarily then on the pension side, just because over the years, and we've been doing this 18 years, this is what we do and what we do well. And the first thing we do is seminars. Used to do a lot with June when he was there with the city. And after June last, I don't know, it kind of went away. But anyway, we always start out, you don't know what you don't know, because if you don't know about the benefits, you don't know. So what do? Our first mission part is to educate veterans and families, and it's all eligible veterans and spouses. Now, one thing that Joe was saying about the service officers and all their veterans, our service officers basically are all widows of veterans. So they've been there and done that, because we deal with 90% of the time with the children of the senior veterans. So typically we don't. We see a preponderance and a big influx of dementia that's going down into the 60s now. Wow, it's very, very sad that we see them. We even had one 57 years old with Lewy body dementia. So we see it every day. And so this is basically what we focus on. We shepherd in the planning process, even if somebody's been told they have too many assets or too much income, because what happens, they get on the website and they get confused on the VA website. The VA website is very confusing, to say the least. We only file fully developed claims. What does that mean? We fill out the paperwork. We will not send it in until the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So otherwise it causes a lot of problems. We've handled probably over 50,000 claims. Okay, so that's a little bit about us. So what we say is, how do our veterans basically and seniors pay for their senior care? First of all, they're paying from their income from home, self-pay from savings, investments, long-term care insurance. The vast majority that we deal with do not have long-term care insurance, and they're not going to be able to get it because of just health or cost. But that, if they have it, we tell them, do not get rid of it, okay? The VA pension plus aid and attendance, and this is what I'm going to get into in a little bit more detail. The ABD Medicaid we're involved with also, that's aged, blind, and disabled, and that's for the nursing home. We're also involved with the VA Directed Care Program that was talked about before. Very important program because a spouse can be providing the care at home for the veteran, and in that situation, they don't qualify for the VA pension, but they do qualify for the VA Directed Care Program. Very important. Very important. The Florida HCBS waiver program as well, we're involved with, because we're always looking at how can we maximize the amount of income for our veteran spouse, if you will. Okay. So real quick, I'm going to talk about how the VA is set up. First of all, there's the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, the county veteran service officers like Travis, the city of Jacksonville. Every county in Florida basically does have a county service officer, unless they're very small, and that there may be one service officer that handles that. The second is the chartered organizations such as American Legion, VFW, DAV, etc. They usually have a veteran service officer at each post. It just varies. The third is the VA accredited attorneys and the VA accredited claims agents. That's us. So as we tell everyone in our presentations, which we do twice a week, is that you have a choice of where you want to go to get somebody to help you. So the three in blue are not the VA. We represent you before the VA, because every once in a while we get somebody that just they're upset with the VA, And we have to say, don't blame us. You know, it's the VA. It's the VA. We're here to help you. Okay. So the Department of Veteran Affairs, they have 3 divisions: the health division that is comprised of the hospital clinics and social workers, the benefits division that basically handles the service connected for the veteran and non-service connected for the veteran and or spouse. And then thirdly, over here as the burial division. As you can see, there is no arrow in between, which basically means they do not communicate with each other, because sometimes we'll have someone come in. Oh, well, the VA already has dad's records. They already have his DD-214. Well, that may be on the health side, but we will need that on the benefit side. So we try to explain how it all works, okay? Now, what is the VA Pension Plus Aid and Attendance? It is a Veterans Administration non-service connected reimbursement benefit that is funded by Congress for veterans and surviving spouses of a veteran that served our country during a wartime era. So the important thing, it is a reimbursement. They have to be receiving care, either at home, assisted living, or nursing home. So home care, assisted living, nursing home, or independent living. So on the independent living, they must have a third-party caregiver. That can be either internally or it can be a child that is providing the care. And so it just depends. This gentleman here was 102 when we helped him, got him approved in a week. We just did a 104-year-old in Tampa, and General Hartzell with the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs. We got him to go down and present her medal. She was a WAC, World War II. She was so thrilled. Okay, so how much will the VA pay? Well, first of all, for a veteran and spouse, it will pay $2,430 a month. A veteran only about $2,050 a month. A surviving spouse, $1,318 a month, and a spouse that needs the care and the veteran still living, about $1,558 a month. And it is tax-free for the veteran and our spouse. Okay, so what are the eligibility requirements? The veteran must have a wartime service, does not have to be in combat, just have to serve during a wartime, need assistance with activities of daily living, income limitations. There are some asset limitations. So the eligibility requirements for typically this particular program, they have to be age 65. There is an asterisk there. If they're 100% Social Security disabled, they can be less than 65 years old, but they still must have served at least one day during the following wartime periods and had 90 days of continuous military service with an honorable discharge. Now, there is a different requirement if they served after 1980. They have to have 2 years of continued service, okay? So World War II, as we know, December 7th, 1941 to December 31st, 1946, so forth and so on for each one of these eras. And I'm not going to go into each one of those right now. The other thing that can be is they need to be in a protective environment. And sometimes we get somebody come in and they'll say, well, dad can do all the activities of daily living. Yeah, but he has dementia and he shouldn't be driving or whatever. So they must be helped with the ADLs and or be in a protective environment. So whatever the ADLs, medicating, bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, eating, those are the activities of daily living. But again, in those instances where they have dementia, whatever, you know, they just say, oh, dad can do this, mom can do this. Well, no, they need to be in a protective environment so we can still get them approved. Okay, so what is the VA going to look at on the application? Social Security income, retirement income, rental income, business income, interest income, immediate new income, trust income, reverse mortgage income. So these are things that have to be disclosed on the application. Okay, so let's look at a particular requirement, because we hear this all the time. Somebody got on the VA website and says, oh, I have too much money. It says I can only have $18,000. Well, at $18,000 basically is not net income. So let's look at what net income is. So in this case, they have $2,200 of income between the spouse and the veteran. Let's say the assisted living costs are $5,200. Medicare premium is $240. So monthly they're paying out $5,440. So if we subtract that from their income, their adjusted income is $3,240. So they're way under $18,000. So this is what I'm saying, is that should be net income, but the VA it's a little confusing on their website. Okay. So what's the maximum amount of assets they can have? That's determined by a formula by the VA, and basically it changes every year in coordination with the Medicaid. So what are they going to look at? Assets at application, cash, checking, savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, IRAs, 401ks, annuities that are deferred, property that's net value, and business ownership. I'm going pretty fast because usually this is an hour seminar and I've condensed it. So what it is that the VA will allow it as an asset is the home. The home does not count as long as it's on less than 2 acres at application. If it is basically going to be sold later, it should be in a residential trust, so the money does not go back directly to the veteran. So for example, right now we're working a case out of California. The house is $5 million. Doesn't count, but that's the way it is. A car doesn't count. A car is personal property such as, furniture, things like that. Okay. If the veteran has too many assets, not enough income, what does having a lot of money mean so you don't qualify? Okay. And there's additional planning that can be used to conserve your assets. Every case is different depending on where you have your assets. So let's look at an example here. A veteran spouse that has $126,000. Is this enough money to cover the cost of senior care? So if we subtract that $38,880 per year in our example before, down here in the 5th year, they're now underwater by $29,520. So let's see how important that VA benefit is. Using the same formula here, in the 5th year, they still have $79,200. So let's look at this side by side. So if they don't do any type of planning for the VA or get the VA benefit, over here, they're underwater by $29,520. With the VA benefit, they still have $79,200. That's not a happy face over here, is it? So with the VA benefit, there's the happy benefit. That's how important this VA benefit is for the veterans, okay? The VA now has a 36-month look back on transfers of assets. Prior to 2018, they could gift everything away and still qualify. And now there's a 36-month look back. So people that make gifts to children for college and things like that could disqualify them. So as we tell them, you can't just gift money away anymore. Okay. So most of all, again, I want to thank you for listening to me to this morning. And that is how to get a hold of us at the 904-394-3908. Questions? It went pretty fast.
No, Joe, so great information. And we still have about 5 minutes left for Joe's part. And the other Joe has a question, please, or comment.
Hey, Joe, I don't remember what you said in the beginning, but were you a Marine?
I was not. I was CIA.
Okay. Somebody in your organization is a Marine because all your color patterns are red and gold.
Okay.
There's a Marine.
Yeah, Chris Kaufman, who's on our board, is a Marine. Daniel Bean was Navy. Okay, I think you know Daniel Bean, Joe, and he gets around in Jacksonville. And then we have each branch of the service on our board. Dan Anderson was Air Force. Dean was Dean Tillery was also the Navy, and I could go on and on. But,
Laura, back to your earlier point. So the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy. So, they kind of work for the Navy, except those of us do know that it's the men's department of the Navy.
Correct. You got it. I hear that. Okay. Next question. I went pretty fast. Okay. Let me say, we always try to coordinate, obviously, with the local veteran service officers, because we do get questions on compensation. We do not do compensation anymore. We used to do it, but it's very time consuming. And because of just the workload that we have, and like everybody else during COVID, we lost a couple of people just because they had to go be with their parents. And so we focus strictly on the pension now. And you mentioned Broward County. I was just down in Broward County, and wow, they need a lot of help. We did 3 seminars down there, and we had 90 veterans at each one of those seminars, 90 plus. So we do the entire state, and we're glad to help veterans. If we don't do it, we know who does, and refer that to that particular organization, because it is important that we help our veterans. And you know, what we tell everybody, we're a master of what we do, which is true. We've been doing this 18 years. And so we know, you know, basically what to do and the things that we can't do. But yeah, it's very important what we all do for our veterans, just extremely important.
So Joe, we still got about 3 minutes. Let me utilize those. So three questions for you, coincidentally. What is somebody's first step to get a hold of you, and what should they do? Second part of that is, what should they have prepared before they make that call? And third, it sounds like you do presentations at different organizations, et cetera. If you want to elaborate on that, you know, do you
Sure.
go to places? Can people contact you to get you to come in and speak? So if you'll be willing to share information on those 3 questions, that would be great.
Sure. The first thing, when somebody calls in, they're talking to Betty. So Betty then will send them just what we call our intake sheet. So we know kind of what we're dealing with as far as, you know, their dates of service and their, you know, the level of care that they're receiving, if any, or what they plan to receive. And then what their income is, what their assets are. You know, if they own a home, they don't own a home. From there, once we get that back, it will go to one of the, it's reviewed, then it goes one to our claims officers. And then from the claims officers there, then they will send them a checklist of the basically paperwork that we're going to need, like their DD-214, marriage certificate, so forth and so on. And on down to the doctor statement, the caregivers. Now, if the persons are at home, we have somebody that will go meet with them remotely, okay? Because a lot of people, like I said, 90% we're dealing with the children, but many of them, they're either in a community or they're at home and they can't get out. So we will go meet with them. And like I said, the next step, once we get all of the paperwork, we will complete the application. Then all we need is just proper signatures. We update it, we upload it directly to the VA. Well, also about 2 weeks later, then we can get statuses on those. So that's on that question. The second question was, Laura, what was your second question?
I think you combined them, and you mentioned what they needed to be prepared for when they contact you. And the last one is, do you go to sites and do seminars or Zoom presentations, et cetera? Okay.
2, the Zoom presentations are on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we have a Zoom and people are free to attend that. The other 2 times is basically we go to assisted livings, we go to churches, we go to a lot of the service organizations we've gone to in the past, American Legion and VFW. It's just sometimes in council and aging, we've done seminars for them. So anyone that wants education on the program, we're glad to go there and do it. And typically it's 59 minutes, 37 seconds, and about 10 minutes for questions and answers. But we go there, and that's very important because it just like the large majority of the people that show up do not know about the benefit, because that's one of the questions that we ask them at the end on a form that we have them fill out a survey. And but we're glad to do it. And like I said, in the past, I don't know, Travis, who's doing the seminar for y'all now? We did them for June back then until before he retired, and we're glad to do it. And for anyone that wants us to come do it, we do have some of the other home care agencies that will sponsor, and we'll go do one for them, and they'll have it at location or whatever else. Uh-oh, lost me. There we go.
Please join me, round of applause for Joe and for all of our speakers today. So appreciated. And We got one last thing. We're going to do our door prize. And if you will, Joe, if you have contact information that you would put into the chat box in the next minute or two, that would be great. I know it would be very appreciated. And then there was a question, and I'll address it to anybody that was speaking today, including our meeting sponsor. If you are willing to share your slides, if you can get those to me, Friday or Monday, please do so, and we'll include it in the post-meeting email that goes out along with the link for the video of this once that time is here. So if I could ask, if you're here and your name is on this, if you will please give us a wave. These are the folks behind the scenes. Huge kudos. They think of what the topic should be. They reach out to the presenters, and I cannot even imagine a better program on this topic today than with the 4 groups that came in today. So huge thanks to this group. They are so connected in the community. They play such a huge role in these meetings going as well as they can. So going back to our meeting sponsor, Cornerstone Caregiving, they give 2 $25 Amazon gift cards. Our next meeting is November 4th. So we'll send out notices as we get closer to that, just as you saw here. If you're not on the email list, ElderSource holds that email list, and it's Andrea Spencer at ElderSource that can get you on that list if you're not on that list now.